So, this is episode 11 of the Money Musician podcast. And today I got my friend here. She is an amazing singer, has played thousands of gigs, does her own original music, and went from Nashville to Las Vegas, and she's here now with us, hopefully for a long time. This is Laura Walsh.
Hello.
All right, so the first thing I want to ask you is, I think you're like an amazing singer.
Thank you.
How did you learn how to sing so good? Like, where did that come from?
Well, probably the inner Simon Cowell that lives in my brain has just like groomed me over the years to be like extremely picky about vocal delivery. But no, I've always like had a passion for singing, and
Just at a young age?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. When I was young, I like knew that I was going to be a singer one day, and I was so afraid to tell anyone.
Really?
So I was really shy. Up until about high school, I started being a little bit more outward with it. And then when I graduated high school, I was like, this is what I want to do. So it's taken years for me to develop the confidence to be on stage and believe in myself. And once I'm like decided with something, I'm all in. So yeah.
Did you take choir in high school and stuff like that?
I did, yes.
So you're like a theater kid or like?
No, it's funny. In middle school I wanted to be Avril Lavigne so bad. So I took guitar lessons. My first guitar was an electric guitar. Everyone was like, you need to start on acoustic. And I was like, no, I want an electric guitar. So this purple Ibanez electric. And I just was like that. I just wanted to perform. I wanted to be like, you know, in a band, like rock star type of vibe. I went to a private school and I tried the theater thing and it just wasn't really for me. But choir was a great outlet. It was actually the first time I heard harmonies together in like a group setting like that. And I remember being so enamored by the sound and the acoustics in the room and everything. And so, so that was kind of how I started off there. And I used to teach voice lessons as well. And I would tell all my students, if you have an opportunity to be in a choir, do it, because you learn how to sing with other people. You learn about harmonies. You learn your own voice. So yeah.
Yeah, you learn how to blend. That's huge. I remember Avril Lavigne and like Ashley Simpson.
Yeah, I love Ashley Simpson.
Hilary Duff and like all those girls were like super hot in that time. Like every dude just loved those chicks. That was it. It was like
Avril
Britney
was like
Spears
the bad girl though. She was like
that's true,
I don't give a fuck. Like I'm just gonna be, you know. I love that about her. So that always resonated with me.
Yeah, I remember all of her music videos and stuff. It's so funny.
And her ties, and I had a tie. Yeah.
That's just what was in.
Yes.
That's the stud belts, everything. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Dang. So did you ever take lessons? Did you ever have like a really good vocal teacher?
Yeah. So choir was a great foundation. And I remember my first choir teacher told me to say yes to every opportunity that came my way. And so that stuck with me. And so any opportunity I had to sing, I said yes to. After high school, I started performing quite a bit. And I remember, I think it was like Carrie Underwood or somebody on American Idol. I was like, oh, I've never had voice lessons. And I felt insecure from the standpoint of like, oh, like maybe I shouldn't take voice lessons. It needs to be like, you know, this like God-given gift, you know.
Right.
And the reality is everybody takes voice lessons. So eventually I got to a point where I was kind of struggling with technique and saw an ear, nose, throat doctor. And he was like, I would highly recommend a vocal rehab coach. She will help you learn skills to protect your voice and keep you from damaging it. So in Arizona, Vanessa Purdy, she's incredible, a genius. She had a paralyzed vocal cord from a chiropractic accident. And I always forget his name. I know it's Seth, and I always forget the last name, but he was Michael Jackson's coach.
Yeah.
He coached her, and helped her revive her vocal cord from paralyzed to being able to sing again. And so she just had this incredible intel and like from experience as well of how to safely sing. And so the time I had with her was just unbelievably epic and set me up really well before moving to Nashville.
Wow. That's crazy. I think my vocal coach now, I think she learned from that guy too.
Yeah. It's like, I can never remember his last name. It's Seth Briggs, maybe?
Yeah, Seth
right?
Briggs.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
Seth Briggs, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
That's it. Because he's, what is it? He teaches speech level singing?
Yes.
Or something like that. I think it's what it's called. There's like a few like different techniques or whatever, but wow, that's crazy, yeah. Okay, so you learned from her. Were you having like problems with your voice before you went to her?
Yeah, I actually had like a really hard personal year and went through some trauma, learned that your emotions actually affect your vocal health, which is insane to think about. But
that's wild.
If you're stressed out, you think about it, like they say like, oh, I'm getting choked up. Like you literally are getting choked up. So when the adrenaline is pumping and, you know, or if you're nervous, like you feel your throat, you feel everything dry out, you feel everything kind of like tense up. And so I had undergone some pretty intense stress. And when I was talking to the vocal coach about it, I was like, this is weird. Like I haven't been singing as much. So why am I struggling? And she's like, have you been stressed out? I'm like, this has been the hardest year of my life. She's like, that'll do it. So I was on the brink of vocal nodules at the time. And she helped me heal my voice.
Yeah. And even like, so kind of I just kind of want to talk more about the singing or the lessons particularly. What would be like a typical lesson? Like what would she give you? What would you guys do?
We would do warm-ups to start. And then
just like lip rolls and scales and stuff like that?
On the piano.
Okay.
It's been a while since I've had a lesson. I actually was thinking as I've been out here, like I want to take some more lessons and just kind of like see where I'm at. But I think we would start with that. And then she would record everything so I could go back and listen, which is huge. Like it's so helpful to hear yourself on some version of a recording, whether that's, you know, if you're playing a show and someone's taking, you know, video on their iPhone, or if you're recording yourself on voice memos, just to hear it back, because obviously like when you hear something in your head, it sounds different, and vocalists, especially like when you're dropping your jaw, like your ear canal is closed. So there's just like a lot of different things that you don't think about, and you're not hearing what's like the house mix, you know, of like your voice on the outside. So
you're hearing your head on the inside.
Yes.
And then people are hearing something a little bit different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So she would record everything, and then I would usually take a song to her that I was learning for a show and say, you know, help me do this better. When I was recording my original music, I showed her the songs and had her kind of give me some pointers for the studio, which is also like a totally different animal compared to like live shows. So just having that like, you know-how of like how to utilize my voice best in studio. And the studio takes are always going to be more, I mean, it's something you listen to forever. It's recorded, as opposed to like live, like people sing so differently. So you're going to have a different performance. You're going to, you know, cheat, you know, the different things a little bit different, because you want to give a performance that is memorable as opposed to safer on your vocal cords, but there's still a way to be safe, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. So, I didn't even think about that. Yeah. Because you kind of want like more stamina when you play live.
Yeah.
They're just more, it's just louder sometimes.
Yep.
You can't hear yourself as much, or there's just a lot of things that can happen when it's live. How often would you take a lesson? Like every week?
She was, at the time, expensive for me. So it was like once a month or once every other month. But every time I would go in, she was amazing. She would even like go later if we needed, you know, if we were like on a roll. She was so great. So I would maximize my time with her and just be extremely intentional and thoughtful going into it.
Yeah.
I think part of it is like my setup was I performed so much. So
Yeah.
I had the practice time where if somebody isn't performing as much, you might want to be with a vocal coach more often.
Right.
Just because, your stage time is less. So having someone that's kind of helping you maintain things. But for me, performing, a lot of times my warm-ups would be kind of included in the show because of,
Yeah.
long show hours or whatever. So
Yeah. I always recommend taking vocal lessons to the audience because not only does it help you sing better and sing all the songs that you want, but then when you're doing so many gigs, it helps you maintain that and stay consistent, basically. Like it just, because it's a lot. I mean, singing that many gigs in a row is a lot, and that's, I don't know. It's a lot on your voice.
Having somebody else outside of yourself give you constructive feedback is, in any category of life, is so helpful.
Yeah.
So especially if it's something that you're passionate about, like music, having somebody teach you different things that you wouldn't think of on your own. What was so heartening and like inspiring about Vanessa, I would walk in, she was probably the first like adult person that I'd ever met that said, I can learn just as much from you as you can learn from me. And she was, at least twice my age. So to know this like guru, Yoda of music is looking to learn from me, it was really interesting. And like such a great perspective that I've carried with me throughout my life of I can learn from literally anyone. So
yeah, I do like that. That's very humble.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that led you, so she basically prepared you for Nashville.
Yes.
When did you go to Nashville? So where you were in Arizona?
I was in Arizona.
And had you played any gigs in Arizona?
Oh yeah.
You did?
Yes.
Okay.
So when I was in college, I graduated in 3 years. I didn't want to go to college, but had a scholarship. So I had no student loans. It was just like, was the smart thing to do.
Yeah.
But I was really passionate about getting my career started. So I was back and forth to Nashville, writing and recording my first album. At the end of my college career, I got an internship at what's now iHeartRadio. Which was great. I wouldn't have had that opportunity had I not gone to college, but that opportunity helped me connect to different venues, and I got a lot of opening acts and different opportunities from that opportunity. So I had been performing since about 2012. I'm dating myself. And I played, like I said, I opened for so many people. I played at Toby Keith's bar back when that was a thing.
Okay.
Opened the Whiskey Row, the Arizona location was the first one.
Nice.
Played all the festivals, all of that. Did national anthems, like just anywhere. Like I said yes to everything. So.
Wow. National anthem would be so intimidating.
Yeah.
Were you nervous the first time you did that?
That was like probably my first big, gig, I guess you'd call it. My mom she was a director of a nonprofit organization for deaf and deafblind, and the Arizona Diamondbacks had Deaf Awareness Night. And so they had all of these interpreters come out and sign the national anthem, and they were looking for a singer. My mom's like, I know one, my daughter. So that was my first national anthem in front
of the Diamondbacks game?
30,000 people, yeah.
What?
Professional one, I guess. Yeah, I sang a few times in high school.
And it's just a cappella.
Yes, which is so trippy because there's like a 3-second delay.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I'm trying to think, I don't think I had in-ear monitors at the time. So you have to like really focus. Now they give you a pack with in-ears and you can like hear yourself in real time.
Yeah.
But it was
a 3-second delay, like you were singing through the mic, and then when you were hearing it through the speakers.
Yes.
It was 3-second delay. That's crazy.
It was insane, but it was like good training.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I was very nervous.
That was so, talk about pressure.
Yeah.
Talk about, that's like real pressure.
I was like 19 too. So I was
It's like, don't mess up the words, don't mess up the melody. It's like, that's, oh, dang.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But it was fun. I'm glad I did it, and I've done it many times after that. So it was really great to just like jump in and go for it.
Yeah, and then any show after that is going to be like nothing.
Yeah.
Right? It's like once you feel that level of pressure, it's like, oh, this is just a show now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wow. So what made you want to go to Nashville?
So
or why did you choose to go there? Or like
no, this is great. I was actually telling Miles before we started filming, I'm not country. And he's like, oh, you're really like intentional about that. Like, yes. So to give some backstory, when I first started doing music, I was working with a producer out of Nashville. I grew up in a pretty sheltered environment. I get it, of course. Like you see, Lindsay Lohan stories and people in the spotlight just really suffering from Britney Spears, like suffering from the pressures of fame and not having the right people around them. So imagine telling your parents that are already very protective, like, this is what I want to do with my life. Like, that's where their brain is going to go. So my dad really wanted me to get into Christian music, and that just also didn't feel authentic to me. So I was thinking at the time, like, easy listening, coffee shop vibes was probably like what I would be good at. I hadn't really discovered my voice yet, and all that I could do with it. So
you mean like writing your original record?
Yeah.
As that.
Yeah, something that was just vocally not very taxing. And when I was working with the producer, he was like, you should be country. And I was like, what? Country? Like, I was a little confused by it, but I was like, okay, well, I guess he knows best. That was kind of my mentality.
Right.
And this was right when Taylor Swift was like taking off as well. So I feel like there were a lot of producers that were like, this is the money ticket, like, hop on the country train.
Yeah.
Because you could bend the rules. It wasn't so much like a Lainey Wilson vibe. It was, a little more Disney or, sparkly. Mm-hmm. And we started writing the record kind of under that guise. And there is definitely like pop elements in the writing, I think, but but it was very, very country. And so everything was just kind of pushing me towards Nashville. So I always say, I didn't choose country music chose me. Ironically, I moved to Nashville, and still as like a country artist, and the more I was there, the more it just was eating at me. I'm like, this just isn't me. I love country music. I have so much respect for it. Yeah. I have so many friends that are just killer country artists. But for me, anytime I would sing anything pop or rock, that's when I was excited. That's when I'd light up. And as I was writing music, I was like, I just don't hear what I'm hearing in the country world. I'm inspired by something totally different. So I had to like lose country music in my identity in Nashville, which is ironic that that's where I was like, no, this isn't me. Like, this isn't what I want to do. So.
Wow. That makes sense though. Like, I mean, there's a lot of, I get it. Because it's like, I don't know, there's a lot of artists that, even when I went to visit there last time, there was a lot of like, there was more rock bands and like other genres too. So it's, people definitely think of Nashville as like being country, but.
Yeah, and that's what is so amazing about Nashville. It's the music capital of the country, not just country music, but music. So there's actually like a hardcore scene out there, and a lot of rock and metal musicians play for country artists now. But there's still a presence there for that.
Right.
I think Kesha came out of Nashville. Justin Timberlake was from Memphis. So like it's not entirely country, but it is very obviously very country forward, and people go there and that's what they're expecting is country music.
There's so many good songwriters. And to make a pop song country is like you just tweak a few words, you know?
Right.
And it could be country. So yeah, it's all kind of the same ballpark. Even for rock and roll, it's like, I don't know, you could take a country song and just make it rock and roll. Just
1,000%.
Change a few words, you know.
Production too is everything. Like if the production is has certain instruments, like that's gonna give it that like, okay, well this is country. And then if it doesn't, you know, I feel like pop.
Yeah, banjo.
Yeah, exactly. But like pop is interesting to me because it's my like theory or my perspective on the music industry is it's like a car. I feel like pop music is in the driver's seat. Country music is in the back seat. Christian music is in the trailer. They're like a little bit, and I could be wrong. It's been a while since I've like really dove into Christian music, but that's just kind of been the way it's been the last 10 years. And then the engine is like the really out there kind of music. So everybody's biting off of something. And the engine, the experimental music is usually what is inspiring to pop artists. So they're taking something that is like new. It's like fashion, you know, like something that feels different for this current landscape and then creating something where country music, and I don't say this in like a derogatory way at all, but being in the back seat, country music is like comfort food. It's like home base. So people have an expectation of feeling familiar listening to country music, where pop, you can really push the bounds and do something interesting or different. Yeah,
they're so close to, and even like R&B too is kind of somewhere right next to country.
Yeah,
it's like all of it is so close.
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, so maybe the car and the trailer is Nashville.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, no, but I feel like it's your demographic, your audience, like what people are expecting. Country music is such a loyal fan base, which is a beautiful thing. That there is such history and such homage paid to all of the musicians and artists that have paved the way and have, you know, even pushed the bounds in country music. But there is that sense of nostalgia that I feel like pop music is kind of the antithesis of. Like pop music is what is like the ADD, you know, like the what's something different that we can do that's interesting and just kind of the wild card. And so that has always been a draw to me, but especially in the more recent years of my career.
Yeah. Wow. Let's go back to the story. You're in Nashville.
Yeah.
And you're recording an original record.
Yes.
When did you start doing gigs? Was it just at the same time? You were doing both?
It was actually, so I was recording my very first album while I was in college. I was working 2 jobs to pay for it, 18 credit hours. Like I was burnt out by the end of my college stint. But so I didn't have time to gig, but I was very focused on like building my career foundation with an album and then having something to go out and perform. So when I graduated college in 2012, I started performing then, and then just said yes to every gig I could get.
Wow. And that was all covers, or was that original stuff?
Actually, I played more original music back then than I have in a long time. Yeah. Which was really cool.
Were these paid gigs, or were these just like ones you had to sell tickets for?
They were paid. Yeah.
Okay.
So if I was opening for Dustin Lynch, I would build a set of my original music and sprinkle in a couple cover songs. If I was playing somewhere like Whiskey Row, they wanted more cover music. So I would still sprinkle in, it was the opposite. I'd sprinkle in a couple originals, and then that would translate well in that environment, and then play the cover music.
Right.
I played a lot of outdoor mall gigs, which were paid. My dad would actually run my sound, which was really cool. So he'd set everything up and
nice.
Yeah. So I would definitely work my original music into that. And honestly, it wasn't really until I moved to Nashville that the original music performance kind of took a back seat. But I feel like that was okay because I was really in a season of refinding myself and reinventing myself and diving deeper into my own personal identity as an artist. So now I'm in a position where I'm wanting to build this concept album that I have as a pop artist.
What is that? What's the concept?
Okay, should we get into it?
Yeah, let's get
okay.
Yeah, explain it.
All right, so your reaction is gonna tell me a lot. Are you into astrology?
Not particularly, but I know about it.
Okay, yeah. So I'm not trying to be like sexist here, but most like heterosexual men are like crazy vibes. But I got into astrology over the last couple of years. And I nerd out about like anything psychology related or like personality, identity. And so astrology is also this like mystical, magical kind of, I don't want to say fantasy because there's definitely like theories that people have about the like validity of astrology. Anything can get convoluted and anything can get, just taken blown out of proportion and, capitalized on for selfish gain. But when I read my astrological chart for the first time, I felt so seen. I felt very, I felt like a lot of things that I like knew about myself. I had like a language now to explain them.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And I'm still learning so much about it, but I have a lot of placements in what's called the 8th house, which is
that's deep.
The sex, drugs, rock and roll, transformation, rebirth, taboo, darkness. And I've always like...
They call it the 8th house.
So there's 12 houses. And
that's where you are.
Each one represents something. The 8th house, I have a lot of placements there. And it's just like sexuality, it's darkness, it's the biggest like overarching concept about 8th house is transformation and rebirth, death and rebirth. So that's always been like, I'm definitely a very bubbly, sunshiny kind of person. I'm a Cancer sun. So that makes sense to me. And I have like maternal vibes that I was like, I've never like wanted to be a mother, but I am that like friend or like have been that role in like relationships. So seeing that, I was like, wow, okay, that really resonates. But the 8th house specifically, I just thought it was such a cool validation, especially as someone that was raised in a very religious construct, to not feel like, okay, this is just me like trying to be a black sheep or me like trying to, get out of what's been just shoved down my throat for years and years. Like, this is me. This is something that really is like part of me and beyond just that, beyond just the like, I don't know, rebellious sort of.
So you're going to do a concept album with that?
Yes.
How do you tie that in? Like each song is about one of those things?
Yeah, it's still in the works, but I have songs that are all about the transformation that has just, and like self-discovery that I've had. And the just all of the elements that tie into 8th house that I feel like, wow, that I feel seen. I feel like this is who I feel like on stage. Like, I enjoy performing music that already kind of falls under these categories anyways. So feeling empowered to write my own take on all of that is kind of...
Is that the record? What the record's going to be called?
I think so.
8th house?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
That literally, that's a good...
Yeah, and it's like
title.
Very personal, so I love that element too. I know there's going to be a ton of people that just think astrology is bullshit and are gonna, but I don't care, because honestly, like, I feel like art is something that you should pull from whatever speaks to you. So
Yeah.
you
If
know,
it excites you, you should do it.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm really getting into that. I know there's a lot of religious people too that, I mean, I grew up, my parents were like, this is evil, and to me, like, it hasn't felt that way. It's felt very affirming and validating, and so yeah, that's what I'm working on.
Whoa, that's great. I was not expecting that. So, that's cool. That's cool.
What's your sign?
I don't know.
When's your birthday?
May 20th.
Oh, okay. I think you're cusp.
It'd be 35.
Taurus and Gemini.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. So you're
Someone told me
technically
that
a
before.
Taurus, but you're like cusp. So
I'm cooler. What does that mean?
Taurus is very like,
So I'm cooler.
no, Taurus and Cancer have like great like rapport. Taurus is very grounded.
Yep.
Every Taurus I know, it's like they're an earth sign, so they're very they need hard facts. They need evidence. I don't want to say that they're cynical, but they're like, they are the realists of the astrological.
I would say cynical.
Yeah. Some can be, but yeah, they're very like, okay, like, which is great because I have a lot of Taurus in my life, and as a Cancer, I'm so, it is true, like emotional and really romantic, and so it's nice to have that like counterbalance of like being a water sign that's very like fluid and very just like, I always kind of say it's like I'm like the waves of the ocean crashing onto like the rock that is the Taurus. So like having that kind of dynamic is always really nice to have, like the balance.
I didn't. You go deep with it.
I know.
I feel like you're gonna have a lot to write about.
Yes. No, I love getting as deep as possible.
Yeah, I feel like writing the lyrics are gonna be easy for this record.
Yeah.
Not easy, but you know what I'm saying.
I'm so picky though. Like I said, I've got this like Simon Cowell that just won't shut up, but it's good because it pushes me to give like my absolute best. But it is a labor of love for sure.
Wow, that's pretty cool. That's cool. Okay, let's transition a little bit to. I kind of wanted to talk about. I have a few friends that gig in Nashville.
Yeah.
And how are the gigs there? Like, kind of run us through like how a typical gig is in Nashville.
Okay. Nashville is unlike any other place in the world. It's oversaturated with musicians. That's just kind of like a known thing.
Super competitive?
I don't even want to say it's competitive because everyone there, for the most part, is helping everyone. Which has actually also been my experience here, and that's been really great to learn about Vegas as well. But you know, if you're a bass player, you want to make friends with other bass players because if they can't do a gig, they're going to refer you. So it's very much that sort of nature. The gigs are long, probably the longest. I know there's starting to do some gigs like that out here in Vegas, but you don't have breaks.
How long are the gigs out there?
4, sometimes a little bit longer, 4 hours.
Jeez.
So you're up there and you're just performing. You don't really take a break. And it depends on which venue too. Some venues have different requirements than other ones, but and then of course like time of day that you're performing. If you're in the mornings, you can get away with slower music, but at night, it's got to be party music. So they're going to book bands that have that kind of party vibe, but it is, I call it boot camp. Like you are out there and you are learning your instrument because you have just all of this time to do it. So if I sing a song and I fuck it up and I'm like, I could have done that so much better, just wait an hour, do it again. Like you have that opportunity. It's a little bit less like a set show, which I feel like is more common other places. So it is boot camp, but it's awesome because you really learn the boundaries of your instrument and actually how much bigger they are than you think, especially as a vocalist. I used to be really afraid, and I think a lot of vocalists are afraid of over singing, and they always say save your voice and things like that. But when you have that much time on stage, you find a way, because you have to. This is how you're paying your bills, so you have to find a way to make it through the show and not lose your voice. And it's just a lot of experimenting and trial and error, and it takes a lot of guts. I think when I first moved to Nashville, and leading up to it, I had so many people tell me to avoid playing on Broadway. They're like, don't do it. No one will take you seriously. It was just very frowned upon. And when I got there, I was working part-time at Starbucks. So I had kind of taken a couple months off of performing. And I got to a point where I was like, I'll sing for free. I just want to get out and do this. And so I picked up a couple gigs on Broadway, which weren't free, but I picked up some gigs and realized that there is so much to gain from performing on Broadway stages, and it's not you're actually not looked down upon, but you're kind of like respected by a lot of people that you can do those shows. So it was definitely not what I had been told, but I also feel like, anytime you're trying to do something new or different, there's always going to be people that say like not to do it out of fear. And I think,
there's always going to be haters.
And I think to press beyond that and just be gutsy and try it, and see. And I have had vocal nodules. I had to take, actually last year, I had to take a little break. And that was kind of a fluky thing, but I learned how to heal myself and how to rest and how to balance, and everything's kind of you're learning as you go. But I think the gigs in Nashville provide you the time to really hone your craft and like really find yourself and find your voice and find what you identify with.
The whole doing just singing like crazy runs or really putting yourself out there, sometimes you just get bored too.
Yeah, that's
like,
it. Yeah.
Not bored, but like sometimes, you're playing some of the songs that you played a lot, and maybe the crowd is like half into it or something, and you just want to try something new just to like excite yourself.
Yes.
I feel like that happens a lot.
That's actually how I built my shows. As I got more comfortable and had more continuity on Broadway, I was like, I want to play songs that I feel like people aren't going to think to request, but they're going to be like, oh my God, I love that song. So that was always a challenge in my set, to try to find music that would resonate with people. It wasn't like so foreign that they didn't know what it was, but that they wouldn't think, everyone goes to Nashville, they're going to request Shania Twain. Right. They're going to request Garth Brooks. So you're going to hear that at any venue you go to. What's something that they wouldn't hear, but they have heard a million times on the radio, or that they wouldn't think about in Nashville? And so I tried to build my shows that way. And it was entertaining for me, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes it fun for you and the audience too. Yeah. So what was the transition like from going from like, you had a part-time job. What was that transition going to full-time? Did you do that? Were you a full-time for like a while?
Yep. Yeah. So, I had part-time jobs in college, and then went full-time musician in Arizona. Turned 26, needed health insurance, and was like, got a job at Starbucks. Felt like I was going backwards. Was actually like the best thing I could have done for myself, to just, because you can get burnt out very easy if you're just repetitively, chasing this. You feel like you're on a hamster wheel. So it was nice to have a break, to take a beat. And then moving to Nashville, having on paper, like, that was a great setup. But when I started playing on Broadway, it's a very heavy tipping community. So people there know to tip the bands, and that's like how they make their money. And I realized I was making what I would make maybe in 2 weeks at Starbucks in one gig. And I was like, wow, okay, I can do this.
You start doing the math, you're like, oh.
Yeah, and so I remember I felt so bad. My manager was so cool, but I was like, I got to do this. And he got it. He understood. I stayed a little bit longer to help them. But as soon as I like took the leap, actually, I was like the fill-in girl for a while. So I didn't like walk in with like all these gigs. I was like starting from scratch. And I remember it was like August 2019.
Okay.
I had 4 gigs and that was it. And I was like, okay, like this is not going to pay my rent, but I don't know. I had like this really strong internal like hope and belief and faith that like it was going to work out. And it did. And there was actually a girl who I'm friends with that she had some vocal issues and she was taking time off. And so I was like picking up her like extra gigs while she was resting. I was able to pick up those gigs and then it just kind of snowballed from there.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's really cool how like everyone truly does try to help everyone in Nashville. Like it is a very, very just family style community in the music scene there. So.
And you said it was more tip based. Like, do they pay hourly at all?
It depends on the venue. Some venues will give you like a base pay, just in case, nobody shows up and you're not making anything. And I don't know if that's like part of their bar sales or what, but some of them don't pay very much. So you are really heavily reliant on tips. Some of them don't pay at all. So it just depends on like where you're playing.
Yeah, there's going to be definitely spots that tip way better.
Yes.
And then there's going to just be spots that are just like super slow traffic.
Right. Right.
Wow. Yeah, that's so different here because in Vegas, it's hourly. They'll just pay you a certain rate or they'll just pay you a flat rate.
Yeah.
And then in Nashville, it's all tips.
For the most part. Yeah.
Kind of.
Yep.
How interesting. Yeah.
Which makes it different again than any other place in the world, really. Because even in Arizona, like the gigs I would play were paid. So I knew exactly what I was making. If people tipped, like great, but it wasn't like the emphasis. Where in Nashville, it's very, very tip focused. So
that kind of gives you a bigger unknown. Like, was it pretty consistent? Like the tips?
Yeah. I mean,
just ballpark, like a couple $100 an hour or something?
Well, it really depends. We had one gig, somebody tipped us $1,000. Like, so that was great. I was like, I asked him, like, are you sure this is the right number of zeros? And he was like, yeah. So, that doesn't happen all the time.
Actually, add one more zero.
Right, exactly. No, yeah, like it doesn't always happen like that. I mean, there have been times where like everybody's made $5 in tips. Like it just, it is a bit inconsistent. It's slower in the slower seasons, of course, like wintertime. And actually, like, I remember they had an NFL draft there and I got booked to play and I was so excited because I'm like, oh, there's going to be so many people. Like, it's going to be great tips. And their tips were horrible because people weren't there for music. They were there for NFL. So, so that was something interesting to learn as well. Or like holidays, you think like, oh, I'm going to work a holiday, like 4th of July, my birthday. I was like, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to make all these tips. And you don't, because people are not there for that. They're there for the fireworks or something else. So.
Right. Yeah, there's so many. Yeah, it always happens opposite of what you think. And then like the days that you don't think you're going to get any tips, you get like a mad tip.
Always. And it's like so slow. And like someone comes up to you and you're like, don't quit. Like, okay, thank you. They're like, you're so good. Like, okay, thank you. I needed that. Yeah. So it's always, there's always, provision.
Do you have like a pre-show ritual? Any weird superstitions or
oh, that's a good question.
Just anything that you do before your shows that.
Lately, I do like a meditation. So I sit on my couch. My cat comes up and sits on my lap and we just like snuggle and I do like affirmations. Or there was a period of time I would just watch like Disney Plus had this like landscape of like different places all over the world, like nature and classical music, and I would just sit and like just zone out to that for 30 minutes or so.
Just to get yourself calm and like focused?
Yeah, it's changed over the years. I feel like when I first started performing, I would have to really hype myself up. So I would listen to like really intense music and, just like,
Avril Lavigne.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. More like Rage Against the Machine. And like,
okay.
yeah, like I would get like, really amped up and then I'd go sing like Katy Perry, but but,
killing in the name.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it depends on the gig too. Like, I'll never forget. I love Lady Gaga. She's like she's my favorite artist of all time. I feel confident to say that because she just is so unreal. Like, she's insanely amazing and everything. But she did the Super Bowl. So it was like 2016, I think. And I remember seeing her in like a matte black Lamborghini, like driving. They're like filming her driving to the Super Bowl. And I was like, what a great like hype up, and obviously it was like a massive show, but like, so I always think of like that. And like, if it's a show, I need like that, amped energy. But I think as I've been performing more, now I'm like, I need to like tone down. I need to like take the anxiety out of like, get out of survival mode and get into like calm. And then when I get there, it usually takes off. But yeah.
It is. It's a weird blend. Even at the show, it's a weird blend of you wanting to be calm, but you want to have the energy and the intensity.
It's like controlling the fire. You don't want it to be this
that's a great way to put it.
Wildfire that's just like, blah. And I used to be that performer where I looked like I was on drugs. I was just like psycho on stage. I'd look back at videos and I was like, I need to calm down. Like I look like an unhinged Energizer bunny, but now it's like I'm a lot more intentional with movements and actually it does help with nerves too. I don't really get nervous anymore, but if I was, or I was trying something, I'm tired and I'm like, okay, I'm going for this note. A lot of times having a physical, like what I do now is I'll like press my thumb into the capsule of the microphone. If I'm like getting ready to hit a high, like really high note that's like making me nervous and I might psych myself out, I channel my energy there. I used to do, when I was younger, I would like hold my stomach, which is, you can't do that all the time. But now I find different ways to like let that nervous physical energy go somewhere other than my voice, if that makes sense. So it's almost like a muscle-mind connection.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. That's like, almost like just something to remind you to like lock in and like.
Yeah, it's like a distraction instead of like, oh my God, here comes a note. Like, I'm like, no, thumb. Like, and then I put the energy, the focus there. And then I'm such an overthinker. So it helps me get out of my head to like have like a physical, I'm also very kinesthetic as well. So like just something physical is like really great for me to channel my energy.
Yeah, I always talk about that too, like how when you're, especially when you first start, you're very just self-conscious. You just have a lot of like self-doubt, like, am I even doing a good job? Yeah. Did the audience like that song?
Right.
Is management gonna ask me back?
Right.
Like all of this stuff. And then you have the best shows when you're not thinking so much.
1,000%. Yeah. When you're out of your head and you're not worried about all of the things you listed, you're having fun. And when you're authentically having fun and enjoying yourself and like in it, like what you're doing, that translates to your audience better than anything you could ever do. Like any amount of preparation you could ever have. When you see someone having fun, even like I remember seeing a clip of Pink, she like messed up a lyric or messed up a dance move or something, and she was just like so enjoying herself and like laughed it off, and like that it was like charming, like you weren't distracted or like, oh, she messed that up. Like you were like, wow, like that was like a very human moment. And you're watching someone do what they're meant to do. So I think, when you're out of your head, which is like
easier said than done.
Struggle of my life. Tequila helps, but wouldn't recommend that. I had a season in Nashville where like I would just drink to survive, as terrible as that sounds. And I was like, this is not sustainable. Like I don't feel my feet, which is great because they're like in so much pain right now. And the alcohol takes that away. But probably shouldn't be doing this on the regular. So yeah.
Yeah, the flow, it's the flow state, I think is what the people call it.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and that's not even in music, that's just in life, I feel like.
Yeah.
And that's I've made like a few posts about this, like where it's it's easier said than done, but dang, yeah, just clearing your mind. Maybe that's why you meditate before your shows. Maybe that's why it's helping you.
Yeah, that's actually probably exactly it. When I walk
Yeah.
in with nervous energy, it drains my energy. So then when you have to, perform for as long as you do at these shows and you're already wiped out at the beginning, it's just brutal trying to it's like trying to stay awake when you're about to fall asleep. So if you can zen out before and then get there and conserve your energy and then utilize it. Yeah.
And I feel like it's easier to do that. It's easier to, when you're more prepared, when you've like rehearsed and like you know your stuff, you're not thinking about the lyrics.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about how do I play this song? You're not thinking about should I go stand on the corner of the stage and do the solo, whatever. All of that stuff, you get to a point where you're just kind of doing and you're not thinking so much. And it really is, the reason I'm harping on it is because I think it's so important.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's almost like an advanced thing. Like when you're first starting out, it's like you're trying to figure out all of this stuff. Like, how do I work the audience? What should I say to them? How do I play these songs? I just want to get through the gig, all of this stuff. And then after you've done that for a while, it's like you get to this point where like you can just go rock out almost, and you just kind of forget all of that. And it's so much better in that place, in that flow state. It's so much better for you, for the experience, and for the audience.
Yes.
It's kind of an advanced thing.
Yeah.
I don't feel like anyone talks about it.
No, that's you're right. And I think like advanced is definitely the word to use, but it's not unattainable. It's just seasoned. It's just time under your belt. It's just the more you do something, the better you get at it. And you've got to have the seasons where you're like, I'm bored of this. I'm going to push myself. And you've got to have the seasons where you're like, oh my God, I didn't know I could do this. And I, challenged myself and was nervous and did it anyways. And you have to have all of those steps. You have to have all of those experiences and shows under your belt to get to that point where it does feel like flow and you can get out of your head and you can enjoy what you're doing. And that is the best show because it's like, it's you at your best. Even if you're not feeling 100% that day vocally or, just physically, like if you can channel that, it's like, I don't know, you know how to like turn it on.
Yeah, it's almost like you don't have any fear. And I don't know if, that the fear could be the judgment of yourself or the judgment of the audience or management or of a lot of things. And it's almost like there's no fear and you're kind of just grounded and you're not scared to like try something new with your solo or try like a new vocal riff or maybe sing this part a little differently or say this to the crowd or joke with this person over in the corner or like it's a weird thing that happens when there's like no fear that's present and you're kind of just there and you're in it and confident. It's a whole different thing. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it.
I saw an interview, I think it was on Jimmy Fallon, of Michelle Pfeiffer. And she was talking about her audition for Scarface. This was right after Grace 2 and everybody loved her. And I think she was like just really fresh, like getting into the industry. And she had the worst audition. She said it was so horrible that they were like,
oh, no.
We love you, but we can't give this role to you. This was so bad. And she said it just devastated her. It broke her down. She was so upset for months. They ended up calling her back. So she had gone through this grievance period, this mourning period. They call her back. They're like, we just have a feeling about you. Can you come back and audition again? So she did. And she said she was numb. She just had like let go of the, the fear, I guess, the anticipation, the inner head, all the things that, when you overhype something and experience, she was just so like degaff, you know? She's like, I'm just gonna go in. What have I got to lose? It's almost like the mentality, like you just don't care in the right way.
Right.
And she nailed it. And obviously, like, the rest is history. But
wow.
Yeah, I think you have to have like you have to channel your degaff in the right way, you know, where you're like, I just don't give a fuck. Like, I'm gonna go out here and be myself, and if I mess up, whatever. Like, I'm gonna keep going, and knowing, like, almost a confidence of knowing that it's not an end all be all, you know. Mm-hmm. I think that helps get you quicker to that sense of fearlessness.
Yeah, that state. And I feel like it kind of happens in cycles too, or it happens like even now after playing however many years we've been playing.
Yeah.
It still kind of happens to where I'll notice the times where I get in that state, and then I'll notice the times where I'm super self-conscious. And you know, there's a lot of fear, and I feel like I'm thinking about the judgment of everyone. And then it goes back to that flow state. Maybe I'll do a solo, and then I'm back in it, right? I'm just like, oh yeah, here it is. And then we'll go to the next song, and then it's like, oh dang, like judgment, fear, all this stuff. It's this, and so you want to be in that flow state more. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But it's this kind of like constant back and forth, and you want to just keep going back to that flow state.
Yes.
I don't know how else to explain that.
No, I mean, that's life though, isn't it? Like, there's times where you're like, I feel like I'm killing it, I'm really confident, and then something happens and you're like, like, everything's upside down, everything's, you know, totally different. But I think having the mentality, just problem solving, like, if you can decide, like, I'm a problem solver, I'm gonna figure this out, I'm gonna keep going, I'm gonna persist, which is honestly, like, they say that in Nashville too, like, that's the best advice you'll ever get from somebody is just don't quit, you know, don't stop, keep going. Because nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody knows what is going to happen tomorrow. No, you don't know that either. So if you have that, like, sense of hopefulness and expectation that, like, the energy you're putting into something and the care and the labor of love of your life and career is leading you somewhere. If you have that belief, it will, you know, it's like a manifestation, attraction, whatever you want to call it, sciencey term or you know, spiritual term, it's real though. So when you think that way and you're positive and you're believe in yourself even when you don't, you know, because we all have those moments. And then also knowing, like, this helped me get over we're all self-conscious, but that's kind of what helped me get over being overly self-conscious, was realizing, everybody else is too, you know, it's not just me. So, like, when you know, like, that person in the crowd that they're looking at me, and the way that they're looking at me is like that they're judging me, or they hate this song, or they think I sound like shit or whatever. You've no idea what they're going through and, like, what's actually in their mind, right? So when we make those judgments, then we believe that narrative, like, that is so crippling to our success. So
you're just kind of making up stories in your head. It's weird to think of it that way. Mm-hmm. Like, you have no idea what that person is thinking. You have no idea what there's almost like no truth to the story that you're creating in your head.
Right.
There's no truth to back it up. But then we believe it.
Exactly.
Which is kind of crazy.
What was it? It's like fear and hope are both, like, unknown. So you get to, I'm botching this quote, but it's basically like, you can believe in fear, you can believe in the worst, or you can believe in the best. Like, they're both, nobody really knows, but, like, it's what you feed, you know? So if you feed the fear, it's going to continue, and that narrative is just going to get bigger and bigger. But if you're like, no, you know what? Somebody out there likes me. Truth is, probably most people out there. And actually, this was really helpful for me as a singer, learning to play and sing at the same time, play guitar and sing at the same time. I was so fixated on, oh my God, I'm not a guitar player. Like, I don't shred. This sounds like, I would say I'm a playing guitar player. Like, that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
But I remember going to, I think it was like a Taylor Swift concert, actually. She got out with her acoustic guitar, and at the time, I mean, it's just epic, obviously. It's Taylor Swift, this monumental production. And then she gets out and does her acoustic set. And then I realized that's what I sound like playing guitar. Like, she's not a shredder either. But she doesn't have to be, because I'm also not like distracted by that. I was privy to it because I had that insecurity. But seeing somebody on such a, giant stage doing the same thing, I was like, oh, it's actually not, they're not listening to me strumming along. They're listening to what I'm singing. So this is an accompaniment versus if I was a guitarist, like a John Mayer, he's featuring that. Everything is kind of built around that. So it's knowing the audience isn't listening to you with the same harsh criticism that you are. And obviously now we live in a world of social media and trolls and, people saying horrible things. But like, if you actually go and look at the accounts of the people trolling you, what are they doing? You know what I mean? Like, they're not putting themselves out there. A lot of times I saw something, it was like the same person with, just a different face, but like the same like type of person that's like trolling. And when you can step back and like just kind of look at it without that like really intense, microscope, and just see like, oh, anyone that's hating is like not happy with themselves. Because when you're happy, that's not where your head is at. You're not condemning everyone around you. You're focused on being happy.
And sometimes those are the people that you motivate the most.
Yeah.
Because obviously they're triggered in some way. So that's, maybe you create a shift in them more than anyone else in your audience. It
could be. Could be.
That's how you want it to be, at least.
That is a beautiful narrative to believe. Yes, I'm gonna adopt that one, because that's way less cynical than the one. But yeah, I mean, you can inspire people. You really can, actually. It's powerful. Confidence is so powerful. And I would actually tell all my voice students, it's like 90% confidence. Like music is like food. Everybody loves pizza, which I always say is like pop music. The like, the music that really like everybody can listen to and tolerate. But some people love Indian food. Some people hate Indian food, but that doesn't make Indian food wrong. It doesn't make sushi. I love sushi. There's people that hate the idea of it. To me, like, I couldn't live without it. So it's the same with music. Like, just because you're not somebody's flavor doesn't mean you're nobody's flavor,
Yeah, well said. So let's do a little fire round.
Okay, here we go.
So just either like quickly choose an answer, like the first thing that comes to your head, or choose one of the two.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you could jam with any artist, dead or alive, who would it be?
I mean, Lady Gaga is my favorite, but I also feel like I'd be like so unworthy. You know what I mean?
No, that's cool. One of our friends actually plays with her.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Don't tell me that.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna go all stalk her. No, just kidding.
Acoustic set or full band performance?
Ooh, full band. I do love a good acoustic set, but again, like if it was a John Mayer guitarist and I could sing, that'd be cool. But no, I'm a full band girl. Yeah.
Sweet. Okay. What's a song you wish you wrote?
Alone by Heart.
Oh, that was quick.
Yes, that is one of my favorite songs of all time. It's just so good.
Dang, okay. What's a freezing cold gig or super hot gig?
Oh, no. I'm the worst person to ask because I don't like to be hot or cold.
Yeah. If you had to choose.
Well, okay, I've done both. When I did a really hot gig, I actually like almost passed out.
Oh no.
But I hate being cold, so I probably cold because I can move around and get my energy.
Get warm.
Yeah, I think hot is, as much as I hate being cold, like I think I would probably actually die if I would pass out. So yeah, cold.
Okay. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Okay. Now, in this stage of my life, sure. Before, I was like, ew, that's disgusting. But now I'm like, I'm a little more adventurous. So.
There we go, yeah. I like it too. Forget the lyrics or break a string.
Am I the only musician up there?
Yes.
Forget the lyrics.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Apple or Android?
Apple.
Nice. Only play covers forever or play originals forever?
Ooh. Originals.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good answer. What's your go-to karaoke song?
I don't do karaoke.
If you had to, just
if
right
I
now.
had to, okay.
What's
Killing in the Name of Rage Against the Machine. 1000%.
Nice. Have to do an entire gig with smudged eyeliner or lipstick on your teeth?
Ooh, eyeliner.
Eyeliner?
Yeah, because that could be like kind of like emo, you know? I don't know.
Yeah.
Lipstick on your teeth is like, unless it's red, and then it kind of looks like a vampire. I don't know. No, I think eyeliner.
Mosh pit or slow dance?
Slow dance.
Nice, okay. That was good.
Yeah, those are great questions.
This
that was
good.
fun.
Okay, cool. I got a few more for you. Who's been your biggest supporter or motivator in life? And this could be a person, this could be a family member, this could be a friend, this could be a book, this could be, anything like that.
Ooh.
Your biggest supporter or motivator in life.
Okay, well, I think I'm gonna say I have very fortunate to have a very supportive family, but I'm gonna pick my dad because we butt heads like less now, but I mean especially like throughout the beginning of my career, just it's been a challenge. But my dad like cares so much about me being successful and like whatever it takes for me to get what I need to be who I'm meant to be and do what I'm meant to do in music. And that's not to say like my mom doesn't either, but my dad, I don't know. I get like a different energy from him that's like, it's actually why a lot of people ask me, my stage name is my real name, Laura Walsh. And my dad has 3 girls. And so he would always say like, he's got no one to carry on the family name. So I decided I'm going to go with Laura Walsh to like carry on his name. But
that's cool.
Yeah, he has such a belief in me, and like we don't communicate great a lot of times, but I know it's so there. Like even when we are, at odds with each other, he really is like probably my biggest type person, and sometimes the Simon Cowell in my head, but like in a really positive way.
There you go, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm gonna go with my dad.
That's good. Good answer. Where can people find you?
I'm in Las Vegas, baby. Online you can find me anywhere. Laura Walsh Music. I'm on all the apps.
Walsh, W-A-L-S-H.
Yeah, like Joe Walsh, but I'm nothing like Joe Walsh. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.